So today I'm going to show you how I knit a garter tab. Now the garter tab is the tiny little rectangle at the beginning of a top-down shawl. The reason we knit a garter tab is to fill in this little gap here. If I didn't start with a garter tab, I have an example of a shawl here that I've knit, you get a little sort of divot. So the garter tab is to fill in that little gap there to make a smooth line. So you need your yarn and needles. I'm using a circular needle because for this shawl we're going to end up with a lot of stitches, and I use circular needles a lot. So we're going to make a slip knot. So this is how I make a slip knot. I wrap my working yarn around 2 fingers and then pop the working yarn through the loop I just made. And we know it's a slip knot because it slips undone. So here we go, round 2 fingers and pop it through that loop. And we have a slip knot. I'm going to put a slip knot onto my needle, and to start we need 2 stitches. So the slip knot becomes stitch number 1, and my needles have formed a knot. So I'm going to go into the slip knot as if to knit, wrap my yarn around as if to knit, pull the yarn through as if to knit, and then instead of pushing that stitch off, I'm putting that stitch directly onto the left hand needle, and now I have my 2 stitches. And the next thing we do is knit 6 rows with these 2 stitches. So it's going to be a quick 6 rows. 1, 2, and all knit stitches in back and forth rows is garter stitch. So what we're knitting here is garter stitch. It's all knitting and we're going back and forth in rows. So this is 3, 4, and I'm doing it quite loosely, 5 and 6. And one of the reasons why we're knitting is to form these lovely bumps. When the stitch goes to the back in knitting, it forms this bump at the back, which is often called a purl bump. So we've got these nice purl bumps now that we can see, and we're going to pick up along these. Sometimes this cast on row twists round here, so I'm just untwisting it back again. So you can see we've got purl bumps here, these 2 stitches here. Here is the next one, and then near the bottom we're going to pick up this last stitch. So we're going to pick up 3 stitches along this edge. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to go into that bump as cleanly as possible. I'm going to have to look around the camera to do this. There we go. That's 1, and then down here will be the next one. Here's a purl bump, so we'll pick this up, knit into it. 2, and that's twisted round, so I'm going to pick up, not quite at the very bottom, but I'm just going to pick up this bit here. It is fiddly. You want to make sure you pick up all the whole strand of the yarn. Don't split the yarn. And 3. And then what we're going to do is pick up 2 stitches from the cast on edge. Now it doesn't look much because we've only got 2 stitches. So I'm going to go into this big loop here because that's easy. 1, and then where my slip knot is, I'm going to go into somewhere around there, just above it. and 2. Now, as I say, it is quite fiddly, so you may want to practice. And that is the garter bar. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches, which is what I'm supposed to have. And then we can start our shawl. So that is how to make a garter tab.